I work in a morgue, and one day, I realized there was a man no one was ever going to come for, and what I found when I tried to understand why is something I still can't forget. You ever get used to something you thought you never could? That was me with the morgue. First week on the job, I couldn't eat meat. Not even chicken. Everything looked wrong. Felt wrong. I'd go home, sit on my couch, and just stare at my hands like they weren't mine. Like I'd left something back there between the metal tables and fluorescent lights. But people get used to anything. That's the scary part. By month 3, I was eating takeout in the break room. By month 6, I had a favorite table. Not like, favorite. Don't make it weird. Just, the one with the better lighting, less flicker. You learn to separate things. That's the trick everyone tells you. It's just a job, Mike used to say. Mike's been there like 12 years. Built like a fridge, talks like nothing touches him. Don't start thinking about who they were. You'll mess yourself up. So I didn't. Or at least, I tried not to. Bodies came in. Bodies went out. Paperwork. Tags. Storage. Routine. Everything had a rhythm to it. Until one didn't. He came in on a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays are usually quiet. No weekend backlog, no chaos. Just steady, manageable work. I was halfway through logging another intake when the gurney rolled in. No family. No escort. Just a paramedic and a clipboard. Found at home, the guy said, like he was reading off a grocery list. Natural causes, probably. No immediate ID except what's in his wallet. I nodded. Didn't ask questions. You learn not to. We transferred the body. Standard procedure. Tag, record, storage. His name was Daniel. I remember that part because I had to double-check the spelling twice. Handwriting on the report was trash. Daniel, something. Last name didn't stick at first. What did stick was the jacket. That's dumb, right? Out of everything, that's what got me. He was still wearing this old denim jacket when they brought him in. Worn out at the sleeves, faded like it had seen too many summers. There was a patch on the shoulder. Some band logo, I think. Couldn't tell exactly, thread was coming apart. We're supposed to remove personal items pretty quick. Catalog them. Bag them. I did that. Carefully, too. More careful than usual, if I'm being honest. Didn't really think about why. His wallet had the usual stuff. ID, a couple cards. $23 in cash. A receipt folded in half like he meant to come back to it. No emergency contacts listed. That happens more than people think. Still, something about it sat weird with me. Day 1, nothing unusual. Day 2, still nothing. That's not strange either. Sometimes it takes time for family to be notified, paperwork to move, all that. By day 3, I checked the log. No calls. No inquiries. I remember standing there with the clipboard, staring at his name longer than I needed to. Yo, you good? Mike's voice snapped me out of it. Yeah, I said. Just checking something. He leaned over, glanced at the sheet. Ah. That guy? Yeah. Mike shrugged. Give it time. I nodded. That's what I told myself too. Give it time. But time didn't do anything. A week passed. 7 days. You start noticing things when something stays that long. Not just the body. The absence. Phones ring all the time in that place. Families asking questions. Funeral homes coordinating pickups. Paperwork getting pushed around like it always does. But not for him. No one called asking about Daniel. No one showed up looking confused, scared, grieving. Nothing. It was like he had just slipped out of the world and nobody felt it. I started checking on him more than I should have. Not in a weird way. Just passing by his drawer more often. Making sure the tag was still there, still legible. Like it would disappear if I didn't look. I told myself it was just being thorough. Yeah. Sure. One night, near the end of my shift, I stayed a little longer. Everyone else had clocked out. The place gets quieter then. Not peaceful, just hollow. Like the building itself is holding its breath. I went to the personal effects locker. His bag was still there. Labeled, sealed. I shouldn't have opened it again. We're not supposed to once it's processed unless there's a reason. I didn't have a reason. Not a real one. Still. I unzipped it. Slow. Like it mattered. The denim jacket was on top. Folded, but not neatly. I hadn't done a great job the first time. I picked it up. It smelled faintly like something familiar. Not death. Not chemicals. Just detergent, maybe. And something warmer. Like someone who wore it a lot. There was a small tear near the pocket I hadn't noticed before. Inside the pocket, there was something I missed. A photo. I froze for a second. Actually froze. Like my brain just lagged. Then I pulled it out. It was one of those cheap printed photos. Slightly bent at the corners. A dog. That's what hit me first. A scruffy, medium-sized dog, tongue out, sitting in grass. And next to it, him. Daniel. Alive. Smiling. Not a big smile. Just relaxed. Like whoever took the picture caught him off guard. There was sunlight. Real sunlight. The kind you forget exists when you work nights in places like that. I stared at it longer than I should have. Way longer. And this weird thought crept in. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just quiet and heavy. Someone took this picture. Someone stood there, probably laughing, telling him to hold still. Someone knew him like that. And now. Nothing. No calls. No names. No one. I put the photo back. Carefully this time. Like it mattered more now. Zipped the bag. Locked it. But something had already shifted. I could feel it. That thin line Mike talked about? Yeah. I just stepped over it. And I couldn't step back. Not really. The next morning, I checked the log before I even took my jacket off. Still nothing. I don't know what I expected. Some last-minute call. A relative suddenly remembering. A neighbor noticing. Anything. But no. Just the same blank space where something should have been. Dude, Mike said from behind me, sipping his coffee. You're doing it. Doing what? That thing where you get attached. He nodded toward the sheet. Don't. I didn't answer right away. Because, yeah. Maybe I was. But it didn't feel like attachment. It felt like responsibility. Or guilt. I don't know. Something I couldn't name yet. He's been here a week, I said finally. Mike shrugged again. Happens. Yeah, but. Listen, he cut me off, not harsh, just tired. You start digging into every story, you're gonna burn out fast. We're not here to fix their lives. We just handle what's left. Handle what's left. That stuck with me. I looked back at Daniel's name. Then at the blank space next of kin. And for some reason, that line felt louder than anything else in the room. That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about the photo. The dog. The way he looked, normal. Like a guy you'd pass on the street and never think twice about. Which is exactly what probably happened. Until no one was left to think about him at all. I told myself to drop it. Seriously. I did. If this story gets to you even a little, don't forget to subscribe and drop a comment. I actually read them, and it means more than you think. It's not your problem, I said out loud in my apartment. Like saying it would make it true. But the next day, I checked again. No calls. No updates. Nothing. And that's when the thought came in. Clear this time. Not quiet anymore. What if no one is coming? I wish I could say I ignored it. I didn't. That's where it really started. And honestly, that's the part one can't undo. So after that thought hit me, what if no one is coming? I tried to act normal. Like seriously, I tried. Came into work, clocked in, grabbed coffee, did the usual rounds. Pretended like Daniel was just another name on a tag. Didn't work. You know when something small just gets stuck in your brain? Like a song you didn't even like, but it won't go away? Yeah. That. Except this wasn't a song. This was a guy sitting in a drawer that nobody seemed to remember existed. Day 9. I remember the number because I started counting. Didn't even mean to at first. Just happened. 9 days. I checked the log again. Same result. Blank. At this point it wasn't even surprising anymore, which somehow made it worse. Like, okay. So this is real. This is actually happening. Still on that guy? Mike asked me. We were in the back, near the storage units. He had that look, you know the one, like he already knows the answer but asks anyway. I shrugged. Just checking. He let out a short laugh. Man, you gotta let that go. Yeah, I know. But I didn't. Obviously. I started noticing more stuff. Not big things. Tiny ones. Like, the way his tag was slightly crooked. Nobody else would care, but it bothered me. So I fixed it. Or how his file had this little coffee stain in the corner. Probably from intake day. I swapped it out for a clean copy. Stupid things. Pointless things. But it felt like, if I didn't do them, no one would. And that thought? That one stuck. A couple days later, I did something I probably shouldn't have. Again. I pulled his file. Not just the basic sheet, the full thing. You're not really supposed to dig unless there's a reason. Like legal stuff, identification issues, something official. I didn't have that. I just needed to know something. Anything. So I'm sitting there in the office, flipping through papers, trying to act casual in case someone walks in. Name, Daniel Harris. Yeah, that was it. Finally stuck this time. Age, 47. Address listed. Small apartment, nothing fancy. Cause of death, pending, but likely natural. Heart-related, maybe. No listed family contacts. That part again. Every time I saw it, it hit a little harder. No contacts. Not reached yet. Not unknown. Just, none. There was a note from the paramedics. Neighbor reported unusual smell. Welfare check requested. I stopped there. Read it again. Slower. Unusual smell. You know what that means, right? Yeah. It means he'd been there a while. Alone. And the only reason anyone even noticed was because of that. That was the first moment something in me actually cracked a little. Not fully. Not dramatic. Just a shift. Because up until then, I kept telling myself, maybe people just don't know yet. But that note? That killed that idea real quick. If a neighbor had to call it in like that, then yeah. No one was checking on him. No one was expecting to hear from him. No one noticed he was gone. Until it was Too late to ignore. I leaned back in the chair and just stared at the ceiling for a bit. Fluorescent light buzzing above me. That same annoying hum that never really goes away in that place. And I remember thinking. So this is it? Like, this is how it ends for some people? Not with someone holding your hand. Not with family around. Just a locked apartment, silence, and eventually a smell that makes someone call it in. I didn't like that thought. Not even a little. Yo. I jumped a little. Mike again. He walked in, looked at the papers in front of me, then back at me. Seriously, he said. I closed the file halfway. Just checking details. He didn't buy it. Of course he didn't. Man, he sighed, leaning against the doorframe. You're digging. I didn't answer. Because yeah. I was. He walked over, tapped the file with his finger. This right here, he said. This is how it starts. How what starts? You getting too involved. He looked at me, more serious now. I've seen it before. Doesn't end well. I let out a small breath. I'm not doing anything crazy. Not yet. That, yet, kinda hung there. I closed the file all the way. Doesn't it bother you? I asked. Mike tilted his head. What? This, I said, tapping the papers. Guy's been here over a week. No calls. No nothing. Doesn't that feel wrong? He didn't answer right away. Which surprised me. Usually he's quick with it. But this time, he just stood there for a second. Then he shrugged. Yeah, he said. It does. That caught me off guard. But, he added, you can't carry that. Not for every single person that comes through here. You'll break. I looked down at the file again. I'm not talking about everyone, I said quietly. Yeah, he replied. That's what they all say. He left after that. And I just sat there. Hands on the file. Thinking. Too much thinking. That night, I went back to the locker again. Yeah. I know. At this point, you can probably tell where this is going. I took out the bag. Opened it. Slower this time. Like I was expecting something different. The jacket. The wallet. The photo. Same stuff. But it didn't feel the same anymore. Before, it was just curiosity. Now it felt heavier. Like every item was proof of something. Proof that he existed. That he had a life outside of that drawer. I looked at the photo again. The dog. That stuck with me. Because okay, no family, maybe. That happens. No close friends? Maybe. But a dog? People with dogs, they don't just disappear like that, right? Someone has to know the dog. Someone has to be feeding it, taking care of it now. Unless. I stopped that thought. Didn't want to go there. I flipped the photo over. Blank. No writing. Nothing helpful. Of course. Would have been too easy. I checked the wallet again. Slower this time. Card by card. There was a library card. Expired. A grocery store loyalty card. And then, something I missed before. A folded piece of paper, tucked behind one of the cards. I pulled it out. Unfolded it. It was a receipt. But not just any receipt. Handwritten note on the back. Short. Messy. Don't forget, Thursday 6 p.m. That's it. No name. No place. Nothing else. Just that. I stared at it for a while. Don't forget. Forget what? Meeting? Appointment? Something important, probably. And he wrote it down so he wouldn't. Which means, it mattered to him. At least at some point. And then this thought hit me. Harder than the others. Did anyone wait for him that day? Like Thursday, 6 p.m. Did someone sit there, checking their phone, wondering why he didn't show up? Or did no one even notice? That one messed with me. I'm not gonna lie. I folded the paper back up. Put everything exactly how it was. Closed the bag. But my hands were slower now. Careful. Like I was handling something fragile. Not just stuff. Pieces of a person. On my way out, I passed by his drawer again. Stopped. Didn't open it. Just stood there for a second. And I remember thinking. This guy had plans. Like, real ones. Not big, maybe. Not life-changing. But something. A Thursday. A time. A reminder. And now. Nothing. Next morning, I didn't even wait. Went straight to the log. Still blank. No calls. No family. No one. That's when I realized something I didn't want to admit before. This wasn't a delay. This wasn't, they just don't know yet. This was. No one's coming. And yeah. That's the moment it really hit me. Not like a punch. More like, something sinking in slow, heavy, impossible to ignore. I was standing there, staring at his name again, when Mike walked by. Didn't even stop this time. Just said, "Let it go, man." Didn't even look at me. Like he already knew I wouldn't. And he was right. Because at that point, I couldn't. Not anymore. Something in me had already decided that. Even if I didn't fully understand it yet. And that's when I started thinking about doing something. Not just checking files. Not just looking at his stuff. Something more. I didn't know what exactly. But I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't okay with him just disappearing like that. I just wasn't. So after I had that thought, I'm not okay with this, it just stayed. Didn't fade. Didn't get quieter. If anything, it got louder the more I tried to ignore it. You ever try not to think about something? Yeah. Same effect. Day 12. Yeah. I was still counting. 12 days and nothing. At this point, it wasn't even subtle anymore. I'd check the log like 5 times a shift. Same result every time. Blank. I started to hate that empty space. Like it was mocking me or something. That morning, I grabbed Daniel's file again. No sneaking this time. I didn't even care. If someone saw me, whatever. I flipped straight to the address. Just stared at it. Apartment number. Street name. Zip code. All normal. Regular place. Somewhere he lived. Ate. Slept. Probably watched TV, scrolled his phone, did all the boring everyday stuff. And now it was just empty. Or maybe not. That thought came in again. What about the dog? Yeah. That one wouldn't leave me alone. I told myself I just wanted to check something. That's how I justified it. I'm not doing anything weird, I literally said under my breath. But even as I said it, I knew. This was already past normal. Don't. Mike's voice again. I didn't even turn around. Didn't say anything, I replied. Yeah, but I see that look, he said. You're about to do something dumb. I exhaled. I just want to know if. If what? He cut in. If he had a life? Of course he did. Everyone does. That's not the point. Then what is the point? I asked, finally turning to face him. He paused. Not long. Just enough to show he was choosing his words. The point, he said slowly, is that it's over. And you're not the one who fixes that. I shook my head. I'm not trying to fix anything. Then what are you doing? I didn't have a clean answer. That's the problem. I just don't think he should be. Nothing, I said. Mike frowned. He's not nothing. No one's come for him, I replied. No calls, no names, nothing. If we don't do anything, he's just gonna get processed, buried, and that's it. Mike crossed his arms. That's how it works sometimes. Yeah, I know how it works, I said, a little sharper than I meant to. I'm here every day too. He didn't react to the tone. Just looked at me. Tired. Look, he said, softer now. You're not wrong for feeling it. Okay? You're not. But if you start chasing every case like this, you're gonna lose yourself in it. I'm not chasing every case, I said. Just this one. He let out a quiet breath. That's how it starts. He walked out again. And I just stood there. File in my hands. Heart doing that annoying thing where it beats a little too hard for no good reason. I don't know how long I stood there. Couple minutes maybe. But eventually. I grabbed my jacket. Yeah. I did. The drive over felt weird. Not dramatic. Just off. Like I was skipping steps in some process I didn't fully understand. I kept thinking, this is stupid. Like, what am I even expecting to find? But I didn't turn around. His building wasn't far. 10, maybe 15 minutes from the morgue. Old place. Nothing special. Brick exterior, a little worn down. One of those buildings you don't notice unless you're looking for it. I parked across the street. Sat there for a second. Hands on the wheel. Thinking. You can still leave. Yeah. I didn't. I walked up to the entrance. Buzzers on the side. Names half faded. I scanned them. Harris. Found it. Apartment 3B. I just stared at the button for a second. Then pressed it. Nothing. No buzz. No voice. Just silence. Of course. I tried again. Same result. Yeah, no one's there, man. I turned. There was this older guy sitting on the steps, smoking. Had that, I've lived here too long, look, you know? Sorry, I said. I'm looking for Daniel. 3B. The guy squinted at me a bit. Daniel, he repeated. Oh, yeah. That guy. My chest tightened a little. Yeah, I said. You know him? Know him, he shrugged. Not really. Lived here a while. Kept to himself. Of course he did. Do you know if he had, like, family? Anyone who comes by? I asked. The guy shook his head. Never saw nobody. Not surprising. Still sucked to hear. What about a dog? I asked quickly. Did he have a dog? The guy paused. Took a drag from his cigarette. Yeah, he said finally. Little scruffy thing. Brown, I think. My stomach dropped. Do you know where it is now? I asked. He shook his head again. Haven't seen it in a bit. Animal control probably came or something. Happens. Yeah, I muttered. Happens. That word again. You a relative or something? The guy asked, looking at me more carefully now. I hesitated. No, I said. He raised an eyebrow. Then why you asking? Good question. I didn't have a normal answer. He passed, I said instead. I work at the morgue. The guy's expression shifted a little. Not shocked, just acknowledging it. Yeah, he said quietly. Figured something was up. Smell was bad for a while. There it was again. That detail. I nodded slowly. Anyone come looking for him? I asked. The guy shook his head. Nope. Just like that. No hesitation. No, maybe. Just, no. And that. That was it. That was the moment. The one that actually broke something inside. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just, final. Because hearing it from a file is one thing. Hearing it from someone who lived right there? Different. Real. No one came. Not before. Not after. Not even now. I thanked the guy. Don't even remember what I said exactly. Something automatic. Then I walked back to my car. Sat down. Closed the door. And just sat there. I kept picturing that photo. The dog. The sunlight. That normal, quiet life. And I kept thinking. That's all gone. Not just him. Everything. No one left to even say his name. And then that other thought came back. Stronger this time. If I don't do something, no one will. Yeah. That's where it got real. Because up until then, I was just curious. Now it felt like a choice. I drove back to work in silence. Didn't turn on music. Didn't check my phone. Just drove. Thinking. When I got back, Mike was in the break room. He looked up as I walked in. Saw my face. And immediately knew. You went, he said. Not a question. I nodded. He sighed. Long. Man. No one, I said, cutting him off. There's no one. He didn't respond right away. Just watched me. Neighbor said he kept to himself, I continued. No visitors. No family. Dogs gone too. Probably picked up by animal control. Mike rubbed his face. Yeah, he muttered. That tracks. That's it? I said. That's all you're gonna say? What do you want me to say? He shot back. That it's fair? That it's okay? It's not. But it happens. I shook my head. Yeah, well. I can't just let that be it. Mike leaned forward. Then what are you gonna do? There it was. The question. Simple. Direct. No way around it. I opened my mouth. Closed it. Because I didn't fully know yet. Not exactly. But I knew one thing. I'm not letting him go like nothing, I said. Mike held my gaze. For a long second. Then he sat back. Quiet. All right, he said finally. Then you better be ready to follow that through. And yeah. That's when I realized. This wasn't just a thought anymore. I'd already stepped too far in. And whatever came next. I was gonna have to see it through. After that talk with Mike, everything felt sharper. Like before, it was this blurry feeling, confusion, curiosity, whatever. Now it was focused. Uncomfortable, but clear. I wasn't letting it go. Day 14. 2 full weeks. Still no calls. At that point, even Mike stopped making comments. Not because he agreed with me, more like, he knew I was already in too deep. You know that look people get? Like, alright, nothing I say is gonna change this. Yeah. That. I went straight to the office again. Pulled Daniel's file. No hesitation this time. If someone had asked, I don't even know what I would have said. Probably something stupid like, double-checking records. Didn't matter. I started going through everything more carefully. Not just reading, really looking. Dates. Times. Notes. Trying to piece together something that wasn't written there. You ever do that? Like, trying to fill in blanks that aren't yours to fill? Yeah. It's frustrating. Because there's always just not enough. Then I noticed something small. Really small. On one of the reports, intake paperwork, there was a line I skimmed before. Personal effects transferred. Keys included. Keys. I froze for a second. Because that meant his apartment was locked when they found him. Which means whatever was inside was still there when they took him out. I leaned back in the chair. Heart started doing that thing again. Fast. Heavy. Because now the thought wasn't just abstract anymore. It was specific. There are pieces of his life still sitting in that apartment. Not memories. Not stories. Actual, physical things. And yeah, you probably already know where my brain went. I sat there arguing with myself for a good 10 minutes. No joke. This is too far. You're not allowed to do that. What are you even looking for? All of it. And every time, the same answer kept coming back. Because no one else will. I hated how convincing that sounded. Don't, Mike said again later when he saw me pacing a bit. I didn't even tell him what I was thinking. He just knew. I'm serious, he added. Whatever's in your head right now? Bad idea. I rubbed the back of my neck. I just need to understand something. You don't, he said. You want to. Yeah, I admitted. He shook his head slowly. Man, you're not his family. You're not his friend. You didn't even know him. I know, I said. So why? That question again. Why? I thought about the photo. The dog. The note that said, don't forget. The empty next of kin line. The neighbor saying no one came. All of it. Because someone should, I said quietly. Mike closed his eyes for a second. Like he was tired. Not of me. Just, of the situation. You're gonna get hurt over this, he said. Maybe, I replied. And it's not gonna change anything for him. I swallowed. Maybe not, I said. But it changes something for me. He didn't argue after that. Didn't agree either. Just, let it go. Which somehow felt worse. That night, I went back to the building. Yeah. Again. This time, I wasn't just standing outside. I already knew the buzzer wouldn't work. I also knew, people go in and out. So I waited. Not in a creepy way, just, leaning against my car, pretending to scroll my phone. Couple minutes later, someone came out. I held the door. Simple as that. Inside smelled like old carpet and cleaning chemicals. Dim lighting. Narrow hallway. Same kind of place as 100 others. Normal. That word again. Apartment 3B was on the second floor. I walked up slow. Each step felt louder than it should have. Or maybe that was just in my head. I stood in front of the door. Just, stood there. Looking at it. Peeling paint near the handle. Small scratch marks lower down, probably from the dog. That detail hit harder than I expected. I reached into my pocket. And yeah, this is the part. The keys. I shouldn't have had them. Technically, they were part of his personal effects. Logged, stored, untouched. Except. I had signed them out. Temporary access. Administrative review. That's what I wrote. No one questioned it. My hand hesitated. Right there, in front of the lock. Because this was it. This was the line. Before, everything was, close to the rules. This wasn't. I could still walk away. Put the keys back. Forget the whole thing. Go back to work, let the system handle it. Like Mike said. But then that image came back. Him. In that apartment. Alone. No one noticing. No one coming. And I turned the key. The door opened slow. Quiet. No dramatic creak or anything. Just, normal. The smell hit first. Not as bad as I expected. Faint. Lingering. Mixed with something else, dust, stale air, closed space. Like a room that hasn't been lived in for a while. I stepped inside. Closed the door behind me. And just, stood there. It was small. Living room straight ahead. Couch, TV, coffee table. Kitchen off to the side. Nothing fancy. But not empty either. That's what got me. It didn't look abandoned. It looked, paused. There was a mug on the table. Half a book on the couch. Remote sitting like someone just put it down. I walked in slowly. Like I was afraid to disturb something. Which is stupid, I know. But it felt like that. The kitchen sink had a plate in it. One plate. Not a stack. Not a mess. Just one. I opened the fridge. Yeah, I know. Weird. But I did. There was food in there. Not a lot. Just basics. Milk. Eggs. Some leftovers in a container. Normal. Everything about it was normal. And that's what made it worse. Because this wasn't some tragic, dramatic scene. No chaos. No signs of struggle. Just, life. Mid-sentence. And then it stopped. I walked back into the living room. Sat down on the couch. Without thinking. And for a second. I just looked around. Trying to imagine him there. Same spot. Same room. Watching something, maybe. Petting the dog. Thinking about whatever people think about on a random Thursday. That note hit me again. Don't forget, Thursday 6 p.m. I looked at the clock on the wall. It was still there. Stopped. Battery dead. Hands frozen at 6:12. I stared at it way longer than I should have. Something about that, yeah. That was the moment. The one that actually broke me a little. Not fully. Not crying or anything. Just, this heavy drop in my chest. Because suddenly it wasn't just a body in a drawer. It was this. A life that just, ended mid-routine. Mid-thought. Midday. And no one came. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. Ran my hands over my face. Damn, man, I muttered. Out loud. Like he could hear me or something. That's when I noticed something on the shelf. Picture frames. Couple of them. I stood up. Walked over. Photos. Not many. But enough. Him again. Different angles. Different days. Same quiet smile. And the dog. Yeah. That dog was in almost every picture. I picked one up. Ran my thumb over the glass. You had someone, I said quietly. Not a question. A statement. Because even if it was just the dog, that's still someone. I put the frame back. Carefully. And that's when I realized something else. Something I hadn't fully put together before. This wasn't about finding family anymore. Or tracking down people. This was about something simpler. And heavier. Someone needed to show up at the end. Because right now, no one had. And I couldn't shake that. Not after seeing this place. Not after seeing how real his life was. I stood there in the middle of that apartment. Quiet. Still. And I knew. Not thought. Knew. I was going to be there. At the end. Even if it was just me. Yeah. That was the decision. And after that? There was no going back to just a job. Not anymore. After that night in his apartment, everything felt different. Not louder. Not heavier. Just settled. Like something inside me had already made the decision, and now I just had to follow through with it. Next morning, I came in early. Didn't even grab coffee. Went straight to the office. Pulled his file again. For the last time. There was an update. Small one. Easy to miss. Unclaimed. Pending municipal disposition. I stared at that line for a while. That's the system's way of saying, no one came. No next of kin. No arrangements. So the city takes over. Basic burial. Minimal service. Sometimes none at all. Just paperwork, a date, and that's it. I felt that same thing in my chest again. That drop. But this time it didn't spiral. It just confirmed it. I found the date. 2 days from then. Morning. I wrote it down. Didn't even think twice. Mike saw me. Of course he did. Let me guess, he said, leaning in the doorway. I didn't look up. Friday. 9 a.m. He nodded slowly. Yeah, figured it'd be soon. I finally looked at him. I'm going. He studied my face for a second. Not judging. Not surprised. Just checking. Yeah, he said quietly. I know. There wasn't an argument this time. No, don't do it. No warnings. Just that. Hey, he added before walking off. If you do this, do it right. I frowned a little. What does that mean? He shrugged. Means don't treat it like a task. Be there. That stuck with me. The next 2 days were strange. I did my job. Same routine. Same everything. But it didn't feel the same. Every tag I handled, every name. I kept thinking. Someone might be waiting for them. Or not. And that, or not, part. Yeah. That stayed with me. Friday came quick. Too quick. I woke up earlier than usual. Didn't hit snooze. Didn't check my phone. Just got up. I stood in front of my closet longer than I should have. That sounds stupid, but it's true. Because I didn't know what to wear. Not for work. For this. I ended up with something simple. Dark shirt. Clean jeans. Nothing flashy. Didn't feel right to overthink it. On the drive there. I was quiet again. No music. Just the road. The cemetery was on the edge of town. One of those places you pass by and never really look at. Until you have to. I parked. Sat in the car for a minute. Hands on the wheel. Same as before. Different feeling. You said you'd be there. Yeah. I did. So I got out. There weren't many people. Actually, there were none. Not at first. Just a worker near the site. Equipment. A simple setup. No chairs. No crowd. Just space. I walked over. Slow. Didn't really know where to stand. So I just stood. A few steps away. After a bit, a man in a suit came over. Not formal like a big funeral. Just official. Clipboard in hand. You here for the service? He asked. I nodded. Yeah. He glanced around. Probably expecting more people. There weren't any. Family? He asked. There it was. That question. I hesitated. Just for a second. Then I said, no. He nodded like he'd heard that answer before. Didn't press. It'll be brief, he said. Okay. And that was it. They brought him out. Simple casket. Nothing fancy. No flowers. No notes. No name spoken out loud. Just movement. Procedure. I felt my hands tighten a little. Didn't realize it until then. The man with the clipboard said a few words. Standard stuff. Respectful, but distant. Like reading lines he's read 100 times. And I stood there. Listening. But also, not really hearing it. Because all I could think about was that apartment. That couch. The mug. The clock stuck at 6:12. And the photo. That one kept coming back. Him and the dog. Sunlight. Normal life. And I thought. This is the last moment anyone will stand here for him. That hit. Harder than anything before. Because it wasn't a thought anymore. It was happening. Right there. The man finished speaking. There was a pause. Like, the kind where people usually step forward. Say something. Cry. Stand closer. No one moved. Except me. I didn't plan it. I just stepped closer. Hey, I said quietly. My voice sounded weird. Not shaky. Just unfamiliar. I didn't even know what I was going to say. Still don't, really. I didn't know you, I said. Yeah. Not exactly poetic. Didn't matter. But I saw your place, I added. I don't know why I said that. It just came out. You had a life. You know? Like, normal stuff. A dog. Pictures. Things you cared about. I paused. Took a breath. I found that note, I said. The don't forget one. I gave a small, quiet exhale. Almost a laugh, but not really. I don't know what that was for. I wish I did. Silence. Just wind. But. I didn't forget, I said finally. That one. Yeah. That one stayed with me. I showed up, I added. Someone did. I didn't say anything after that. Didn't feel like I needed to. I stepped back. The rest was quick. Lowering. Dirt. Procedure. And then it was over. Just like that. People started packing up. The worker nodded at me once. The man with the clipboard gave a small, polite look. And then they left. I stayed. Not for a long time. Just a few minutes. Looking at the spot. Fresh. Quiet. And I thought about how easy it is. To just disappear like that. Not in a dramatic way. Just slowly. Fewer calls. Fewer people. Until one day, there's no one left to notice you're gone. That thought didn't scare me. Not exactly. It just sat there. Heavy. I looked down at the ground one last time. Yeah, I muttered. Soft. Then I turned and walked back to my car. Life didn't change after that. Not in a big, obvious way. I still go to work. Same building. Same lights. Same routine. But something's different. Now. I read the names a little slower. I check that next of kin line twice. Not because I expect it to change. Just because I notice it now. And sometimes, when a drawer stays closed a little too long, I think about him. Not in a sad, dramatic way. Just as a reminder. That every person in there was someone who had a Thursday at 6 p.m. Something they didn't want to forget. And yeah, most of the time, someone remembers them. Someone shows up. But sometimes, they don't. And when that happens, I don't look away anymore. I don't fix it. I can't. But at least once, I didn't let someone leave like they were nothing. And I don't know if that matters. I really don't. But it mattered to me.